This is Pete's Dude Man Guy, and this is the very first 4 Smash season recap. I'm planning on doing this once every 8 4 Smash characters, since they were originally 8 Super Smash Bros. Characters. It's going to be like a commentary on the characters that we've done so far, looking at frequently asked questions, changes I might make, general thought processes. I have a couple guests with me today. We have Chris from Adustus.
Hi, I'm Chris from Adustus.
And we have Moveset Miles.
That's me.
All right.
I would say one of the catchphrases of the characters I've done, but I've forgotten them all. So that's
the prophecy foretold.
All right,
that's the prophecy foretold. That's my favorite one.
That's the best one right there.
And when we were filming that one, there were people who decided to go jogging in the section that we always shoot these at the same. Like they came in like literally 10 seconds after us, and they just ran around staring at us the entire time.
It was great.
So, yeah, these are going to be a bit more off script. But the first character, of course, was Rayman. And the thing about Rayman is he was actually one of the characters that inspired me to start the series. Years ago, I actually thought, like, this is between Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate, I thought I was just going to do a standalone video on what it would be like to have Rayman in Smash. Because at that point, they had added, like, every video game hero that I grew up with into Smash Brothers, except for Rayman. So I was like, oh, I really just want to do a video on what Rayman would be like in Smash. And I just never got around to it. It felt like there were already a lot of other people doing moveset videos, and I was really into doing Let's Plays at the time, so it wound up not being something that ever got made back then.
I remember us having that conversation at PRGE. You're trying to
about just doing a Rayman video, right?
Well, you were trying to figure out like what to do with the channel.
Yes, and that was at the last
like, I want to do these things
PRGE.
and these things, and I think it was in the car to Portland at one point. It's just like, why don't you just like combine all of them?
Yeah, that's kind of how the whole first Smash series started, is because I was enjoying doing Let's Plays for myself, because I was like playing a lot of different games. But I liked doing Smash videos. I was like, well, how can I do both of these things? And yeah, it was actually, meeting with all the YouTubers and stuff at PRGE where I was kind of like, oh, what if I did a thing where like I stream a game, but then instead of doing a review on the game I just played, I make a moveset about a character in Smash Brothers. And that wound up aligning with Rayman because at the time I had been kind of on a hiatus from doing Let's Plays. I hadn't been uploading anything. And I had like half of this Rayman Legends Let's Play sitting on my computer. So I was like, oh, and I can start with Rayman like I've always wanted. So I finished uploading the Rayman Let's Play and then did the Rayman moveset. So it all kind of wound up working out that way.
And I loved Rayman Legends. It's a very fun little game.
It's a very good game.
It's also the first Rayman I ever played.
It's very different than the rest of the Raymans.
That's what I've heard.
Like, it's really funny to me that Rayman is like such a close series to you, because outside of that, you really are just kind of like a hardcore like first-party Nintendo guy.
Yeah, so, yeah, I mean, I grew up with the Nintendo consoles, of course, but the first one I ever actually owned was a Nintendo 64. I got an NES shortly after that. But, yeah, I mean, my first games were things like, that I owned anyway, were like, Super Mario 64 and Yoshi's Story and stuff like that. And randomly Rayman 2, because that was new on the N64 at the time.
I always thought of the Rayman games as more of a PlayStation series just because that's what I saw them on. But yeah, no,
right.
They were on Nintendo.
One thing that I think got asked a lot in the video was the lack of Rayman 3 references, which in hindsight is kind of funny because I consider Rayman 3 one of, if not my favorite. It's hard to tell. It's so stylistically different from Legends, but Legends is incredible. I really like Rayman 3, though. The whole thing was, I didn't realize until I was making the video, and even more after the video, that Rayman has this incredible lack of presence in Japan. Like, and part of that is that Rayman 3 never even released in Japan, ever. So I decided, the thing is, too, a lot of the powers that are unique to Rayman 3 are just kind of alternative takes to his, like, traditional powers, so I didn't really see a point in including references to a game that wasn't released internationally when functionally they're the same as his traditional abilities.
That makes sense.
Like, a lot of people are like, well, you know, you use Purple Lump Swing for his side B and his grab. Why don't you use it for his side B and then use Lockjaw for his grab? I'm like, well, that would work, and that would give him a little more variety, but they work the exact same. And one of them is in multiple Rayman games that were released internationally, and one of them is in one Rayman game that never released to the East.
Yeah. One thing I do kind of like is, based on the footage you used in the Rayman video, he almost like has a Smash like moveset just like in Legends, like in a lot of his moves, like the way he functions, like a lot of those things just make so much sense for Smash.
Yeah, he's very much already Smash stylized. Not only is he this side-scrolling platforming hero in Origins and Legends, he also, like, he has more attacks than a regular Super Smash Bros. Character in those games as well. That's actually one thing I considered in making kind of his gimmick, the thing that makes him stand out, and I think I said this in the video too, was having him do combos for his neutral attacks, because he has these walking and these aerial combos that just don't exist for other Smash Brothers characters. And ultimately, I decided instead to use the helicopter hair, because in all Rayman games, that is just such a, like, primary thing you do to travel around is using that helicopter hair. So I thought, like, that just is just really needed for Rayman's moveset. And I don't want to give any character, like, too much fluff to the point where, like, someone can't just pick up and play them, because I think that's one of the fun things about Smash Brothers, is that you can just pick up any character and start fighting with them and are able to use them.
Yeah.
Actually, and I'll probably make a few more references to this in this video, but I actually think that the most gimmicky character in that regard is Captain Olimar.
That's fair.
Yeah, Olimar's pretty much entirely tied to his Pikmin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One just straight up mistake I made in the video was giving Rayman a ladder attack. This video, right, was made before Smash Ultimate released, and all I remembered was that they included ladder attacks, which was actually something I talked about on a video, like, years ago, like in 2010, where I was like, yeah, when you're on ladders in Smash Bros. Brawl, you have, like, nothing to do, so they should add ladder attacks. And so when they show that off in Smash Ultimate, I'm like, oh, okay, everyone's got ladder attacks now, and I didn't realize that all the ladder attacks are just the character's own aerial moves that they already have. They didn't give them new moves, they just used their old aerial moves, which I guess makes sense to save time and stuff, but I gave Rayman, like, a unique ladder attack in the video, which then I almost did for Sans as well, and then I removed that section.
That's fair.
Makes sense, especially with you not, like, with the limited information you have, it made sense, you know?
like, and all it really is, oh, you did more work than you needed to? Okay. Like, whatever. What kind of response were you expecting when you released this?
When I released this, boy, I knew that it would get more attention than the Let's Plays I had been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how much. When I did moveset videos back in, like, 2009, 2010, those eventually built up to, like, tens to hundreds of thousands of views depending on the characters. One of the videos I did was, like, an alternate take on how the Pokemon trainer could work in a future Smash game. And that one got, like, hundreds of thousands of views. But back then, there were a lot less people doing those types of videos. So I wasn't really sure how you know, this was going to go going forward. It's interesting how that worked out. After I released the Sans video, you know, at that point, Rayman was getting pretty close to 10,000 views, and then Sans just took off. And I was like, oh, who's going to get to 10,000 first? Well, Sans did, and then Sans got to, like, 100,000 views. I'm like, oh!
Yeah, the landscape of YouTube is definitely different than it used to be. There's so much more content now,
hugely different.
And also the way that you market videos now is so much different.
Yeah. So when I'm making movesets, I really go out of my way to not look up what other people have done for that character in regards to moveset, so that I feel like I came up with it on my own and that I'm not copying somebody else, you know?
Yeah.
And I kind of figured that a lot of people for Rayman would use Magic Fist, Purple Lum Swing, and Helicopter Hair. I mean, those are just his iconic abilities, and they really match up well to B, Side B, and Up B. So after I released the Rayman video, I started looking that up, and was like, yeah, that's pretty much what most people did. What I was surprised to find out, though, is that most people I was finding were also using the Plum Attack for his down B, which is what I did. And I thought that was a little more, like, out there. I was like, oh, I guess everybody thought of using the Plum for his down B. Going back really quick to this video coming out before Smash Ultimate, this was also before we saw Rayman as a spirit.
Fair.
So,
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, I say in the video that I thought that Rayman had really high chances of being playable as a DLC character for Smash Ultimate, and I'm not saying that spirits can't become playable, because we simply don't know.
Yeah.
But I still think from an objective standpoint, it quote-unquote lowers the chances a bit, you know?
Yeah, it definitely means that they had thought about Rayman and had come up with a plan for him in the base game, so the odds that it's something they were saving for DLC, they've been lowered.
Yeah, I think so. I still consider him my most wanted character that we don't have now. But to clarify on that, I mean, even though I'd love to see Rayman in Smash Brothers, at this point, I'm kind of far down the line of my most wanted characters. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, what does that feel like?
Exactly. Little Mac was my real, like, most wanted Smash character for years. And then beyond that, some of the other ones I mentioned a lot were like Mega Man, King K. Rool, Ridley, Simon Belmont, and they're like all in the game. So I call Rayman my most wanted now, but we're like 6 characters down the line at this point.
Yeah.
Man, I still haven't seen any of my top 4.
Oh man, who are some? Tingle, Gino, those are a couple of them.
Tingle, Gino, Isaac, and Ray.
Man.
I would love to see Isaac.
Well, you can't. This video is audio only.
Right.
God damn.
Isaac's not gonna happen in this game, I don't think. He's got a pretty fleshed out assist trophy.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, it'd still be cool if they did that in the future. We'll probably talk a little more about that when we get to Waluigi.
That's fair.
So, one thing I do wish I had done, if I were to redo this video, is to use some of the Rayman 3 power-ups as alternate costumes for Rayman. What I wound up doing was using his costumes from Legends, which I think makes a lot of sense, because that's a huge part of Origins and Legends. It's collecting the different alternate skins.
Mario
and I would still mostly reference those, but maybe I could have a couple of the Rayman 3 alternate colors instead of, like, some of the really, like, I don't know, more complex outfits, like the Ray Plumber. I'm not sure. But the reason I did that too was because at the time we were seeing Rayman in Brawlhalla, and that's what they were using for his alternates in Brawlhalla, were things like the Sir Ray-a-Lot and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, this makes sense to have all around. I particularly like doing the having the Ray Box and Raymesis and the Champion Ray outfits. So I would definitely still have those.
That's fair.
The other thing is, this is before I started including victory screens and victory themes into videos, because it was just something I didn't think about having at the time when I was templating out movesets. It was something that got really, really requested during the Sans video. It's like, oh, you should also include victory screens and victory themes. So I am going to do one official update here, and we're gonna tear away from the Rayman video for a second here, and show off Rayman's victory screens and victory themes. So for his victory screens, I have him doing the victory sign, which he does throughout Rayman Legends, the disco dance from Rayman Origins and Legends, and rocking out on an air guitar like when you beat a music level in Origins and Legends. And I'm using the Origins and Legends victory theme.
Sans.
All right, Sans.
Sans Undertale.
This video it's ridiculous how much more views this video has than every other video.
Do you think this one blew up in Japan or something?
I don't know. I don't know what happened. You warned me, and Ace warned me. That's like, oh yeah, if you do an Undertale video, it's gonna get a ton of views. That's not the reason I did Sans. But it did, regardless, get a ton of views. It's still, like, if I look at my YouTube analytics, like, whatever the newest Smash video I just released is, like, my second most viewed from the last 30 days, and number one is always Sans. Sans still continues to get more views on a daily basis than whatever my newest character is.
That's wild.
It's the most popular part of one of the most popular indie games from the last several years, you know?
Now, yeah, the real reason I chose Sans, I was finally getting into the groove of my format where I was going to, like, stream a game and then instead of a review, make a moveset for the character. And just totally by unexpected chance, the first game I wound up streaming was Deltarune. I was just trying to experiment with streaming because I never streamed, so I was like, oh, I'll open up this weird thing that Toby Fox just released. And it wound up being a game.
Yeah. Actual, like, game that was basically... It had almost as much content as Undertale. It didn't have as many endings, but, you know.
So it was a total accident. I wasn't planning on doing an Undertale character second, but that's how it wound up happening. The whole thing was I didn't want to do a moveset for a character in Deltarune yet because it was just Chapter 1. So I was like, well, I want to wait till I see all the chapters before I decide on a moveset for a Deltarune character. So instead I'll pick a character from Undertale. And I could have gone with Frisk. There are quite a few people who have commented, you know, well, doesn't the main character make more sense? I think that Sans is the most recognizable character of Undertale, for one.
Absolutely.
And for two, he's such a, in most people's eyes, a lot, especially people who haven't played Undertale, Sans is this meme, he's this joke, and I wanted to make like an actual, real, non-joke video of like what Sans could be like in Smash Brothers, because I hadn't seen that. I'd only seen jokes.
I think it's also a thing where, like, this is where the personality of the series really comes through too. Like when you're talking, you know, going back to like the Joker discussion we just had in the last Smash Talk, so much style and everything from the series came through Joker's representation, and the big appeal of Undertale to most people is the characters, and Sans is like such a huge part of that. And
right.
Like, you could obviously, like, yeah, you could have Frisk in there, but Frisk is somebody who is pretty devoid of personality, just like, yeah, from necessity. And like Sans just gives you so much more to work with in terms of showing off the kind of humor, the kind of personality of Undertale.
Yeah, I agree. Because you totally could make a moveset for Frisk. I have a moveset idea for him in mind already if I ever wind up doing Frisk in the future. And, you know, you could represent gameplay aspects that way, like, you know, mercy versus attacking and stuff. But, right, I think the more of the memorable thing in Undertale is its narrative and its characters. And in that regard, Frisk is more of, you know, inserting yourself so that you can see the other characters. And that's a little bit different from Villager. Because, right, it's not like, for the most part, it's not like characters are the big focus of Animal Crossing. I mean, most characters have one of 6 personalities. It's more of, you know, you being in this world and paying off your house and decorating your house.
It's an extremely different thing. Yeah, none of them are, like, fleshed out characters.
Right. Whereas with Sans, in the video, I compared him to Elma, and I think that's a pretty fair comparison. When you play Xenoblade Chronicles X, right, the more interesting characters are your party members, where the avatar is just kind of you inserting yourself, and all of your abilities are the same as all your partner's abilities.
It'd be like if they got the tactician from Fire Emblem instead of any of the actual units.
Right, and I'm not talking about Robin, because Robin is interesting.
But
we mean
character.
like the tactician from the first internationally released Fire Emblem. You were playing as them, and they chose that tactician over like Lyn for Smash Brothers.
Somebody who literally doesn't even have like a character model.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just when you're talking about like what gives you the feeling of that series and like what you're representing, I feel like Sans or Undyne or any of those characters would be, more than Frisk.
Yeah. So I don't want to complain too much about this. I do want to bring it up. I've never had a video that got this much attention before. And with that brought a lot of really cool, nice compliments and good comments and good ideas. And it also brought a lot of negative comments and people who would just say no. And I gotta say, man, it really sucks that you could put in like 20 plus hours into doing a video like this, and then someone can just come on, type the word no, and leave. And just
Here's
like,
the thing.
Cool, thanks.
When people come into like, people bring there are some people who are unhappy enough that they bring their baggage into whatever they're watching, and they try to make it your responsibility for a bit. Like, this is the thing with like the Who's Line video. Like I got a couple comments on that were like, at the very beginning of the video, I explained like that where the show came from, that there's a radio show and then a British show, and then it came over here and everything. And then like somewhere near the end of the video, I refer to like the first run that we had, like the Drew Carey run in America. I refer to that as like the first run in comparison to like the new run. And they're just like, imagine calling that the first run instead of the British version. And just like a lot of people who are like being elitist over it, and like this is the
I've seen some of those comments.
Blatantly mentioned in the video.
And I think they were trying to like hurt me, but it was just like, wow, what like a sad person. Like this is what they have. Like this is what they're spending their time and energy doing. And I don't know. So that's the thing. It's like with the Sans thing, when people come in and they're just like, oh, I hate Sans or I hate Undertale because of the fans, or all this stuff. Just kind of like, all right, you're literally the only person being affected by that.
Yeah.
Like, has nothing to do with you.
Now, the number one comment on the video, I think a third of the comments on the video are Sans is Ness jokes.
Yes.
And I went through this weird cycle of it. At first I was like, oh, that's kind of a funny reference. And then after a while I'm like, okay, that's enough. And then now it's just so many, it's ridiculous, and I find it funny again. Especially if people find a really clever way to present it. So.
What the... Speaking of somebody who brings in their baggage, this recent comment. Oh, this makes me want him even less. If we're gonna get a bone-wielding character, let's get Ghost Marowak.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That one's only like a week old.
Somebody comes into the video with the baggage of, I'm a really big Marowak fan.
Yeah, like
Sans is taking away bone wielding from Marowak.
I don't get it.
That's great.
Just like Rayman, this video came out before Smash Ultimate released, and before a lot of other things. And so I want to do a quick update on what I think is the likeliness of Undertale content in appearing in Smash Brothers. I don't know if it's super likely, but it's definitely, I think, more likely than when I first presented this video. Knowing that what we know now with, like, DLC characters seemingly, not necessarily, but seemingly being from new things, and also stuff like Deltarune coming to Switch, and then explicitly saying in the Nintendo Direct that more chapters are coming soon. Like, I'm starting to think that, especially just with the existence of Deltarune, like, oh yeah, Undertale, that was this big cultural phenomenon, is getting a sequel and is building up. I think Undertale is starting to build up as a series and is getting more and more tied with Nintendo. And also, since I've made this video, I've started realizing how, like, ridiculously popular Undertale as a series is getting in Japan as well. Like, it is really crazy seeing like how beloved it is over there right now.
So, a quick question. was you doing this video and having to record like some of the moves yourself, like why you decided to reach out and have us film the Moveset Miles segments? Or because in the Sans video there's at least one of the moves that you record yourself kicking.
Yes.
Was doing that like why you decided to reach out to us and ask us to film the Moveset Miles ones? Because the very next video is when we started doing that.
Yeah, so after I recorded that kick, I was reminded, either just because of my own memory or from Chris, I don't remember what reminded me of that. I was suddenly reminded of that Splatoon video we did months ago.
Right.
Where you recorded our ideas for what the Inklings moveset in Smash Brothers could be like. And I was like, oh wait, why didn't we do that again? That was really funny.
That's fair.
There we go.
I often forget about the Splatoon one.
I mean, that's the real start of Moveset Miles. That's the origin story.
Yeah.
We definitely shot that differently.
Yes.
Just because with this, like, we were like trying to do like more stationary things that you could like put them in the slots.
Right.
We didn't have a lot of a plan when we started filming the Splatoon one, so...
No, this was the one we just messed around in the park for a half hour.
Yeah.
Another comment I got a lot about, and there's just so many like frequently asked things with the Sans video. One was the clarification that Sans' telekinesis is not really telekinesis, it's blue magic, which works the exact same as telekinesis. So like for people watching the video that might not have a deep understanding of Undertale, I think it's a more accurate generic describer. Rather than me going on a tangent on like, in Undertale, Sans uses blue magic, which works exactly like telekinesis. It's easier for me to say, Sans uses telekinesis.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The other thing, too, is I wasn't sure what term I should use for Sans' power when he turns you blue and moves you all around everywhere. And I was like, what do they call that power? So I decided, hey, I bet if I look on the Undertale wiki... which is fan-made, I bet whatever they call it there is kind of the fan-accepted term that everyone uses. And the term they use on there was telekinesis. So that's what I used in the video. And some people didn't like that.
So that's the internet for you.
It is. It really is. This is still also the longest for Smash video. I felt like I had to talk a little bit more about justifying the idea, and I made up a lot of moves, and I did like custom little animations for the moves. But what I'm trying to do now is streamline the videos a little more so that they are just shorter in general. There's still the occasional long one. Like I had to explain a lot with Shantae. Jason and Sophia were a double character. But I'm actually releasing a new For Smash video soon, and it's only like 11 minutes long. And I think that's fine. I'm not into the like, oh, the longer a video is, the better it is. It's just kind of like whatever I need to get my thoughts out. And I really don't want these videos to break 20 minutes, because then it's kind of like, it's inconvenient to watch, I think, in one sitting.
If the video isn't 3.5 hours, then it's not really intellectual.
Yeah, that's right.
I could see that, making it shorter. Also, knowing who the next character is, it would be pretty easy to make it a short video, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty.
There's not a lot of
simple.
there's not a lot of bizarre concepts involved, really.
No. Another one of the biggest comments: Sans only having 1 HP.
Oh, as soon as he gets touched, like it's just like the dodgiest character, but as soon as he gets touched, like it's done.
Basically, I mean, I got so many comments that were either inquisitive, that were like, wait a minute, Sans only has 1 HP, how would that work in Smash Brothers? Or ones that were a little more negative, like, Sans can't be playable, he only has 1 HP. And there is no character in Smash Brothers that directly translates one-to-one to how they are from their own games. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
With Mario, you can use fireballs without a fire flower. Even if they get hurt, Inklings don't instantly die in water. For some reason, characters like Kirby and Ridley, who can infinitely fly in their own games, cannot in Super Smash Brothers.
And like,
so I mean,
the characters that come from other fighting games, if we were doing that, would suddenly have health bars instead of percentages. Like doing that would be a mess, you know?
Yeah, you adapt the characters that you're putting in the game to fit the style. I mean, if you didn't do that, crossover fighting games just wouldn't exist, right? In Marvel vs. Capcom, there should be absolutely no way that the Hulk can lose to Phoenix Wright. But he can.
So I guess Joker has a move that does the damage over time thing that Sans does in Undertale, huh?
A bit, yeah, he does.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I think what you can do with Sans is make him a glass cannon type character, make him strong, but then he goes flying pretty easily. And I think that's the best way to represent the 1 HP thing in a way that fits Smash Brothers.
Yes.
The trombone taunt.
A lot of people liked the trombone
The trombone taunt is one of the most popular things I think you've ever done.
Yes.
You had a lot of comments about that and your little kick. Also a lot of comments about your Force Smash scream. Which...
Force Smash!
I think it was something it's... It's just so loud.
Starting with the next video, I started lowering the volume of that. And then every video I've lowered it a little bit more because... it keeps getting complaints. Now, no one has complained on the latest Force Smash yet about the volume being too loud, so I think maybe I got it.
It was less a volume thing, and it's more just that the microphone was peaked. So the audio just has that, like, it just has that texture to it.
Right now, I'm playing it in the videos at almost minus 10 decibels from the original recording.
Oh, that's not that much.
Yeah, I guess so.
You were barely lowering it. Yeah, usually when I drop music into like the Smash Talks, I gotta put it down to like minus 25 decibels. To like not have it overwhelm the voices.
Yeah, same here. Music in the Force Smash series is ranges from like minus 23 to minus 26. Yeah. So with characters like Sans, and the greater range all characters, the way I come up with the move-sets is I go through.
You just watched a video of the Sans boss fight, right?
Yeah, that's what somebody said in the comments. Jeez.
The weird thing is, I just looked through, and that same person commented positively a week before.
That's funny.
I don't understand people, man.
What I do is I look at everything that, like every possible reference that I think I can for the character that would relate to their moveset, and then I make a list of all the attacks I come up with using those things. Then I kind of just drag attacks to different parts of the template of like, okay, this one's a good neutral attack. This one's a good forward tilt. This one's a good this one's a good that. And I haven't had a situation yet where I didn't have enough moves. I usually get to pick and choose where I want moves. Sometimes for a specific attack, I'll make something up that fits that type of attack that I didn't really see. But usually what winds up happening is I cut out moves that I found less interesting. For instance, with Sans, one of the attacks I had on my list, I know I had a few, but one of the ones I remember was I had an attack where he falls asleep and 3 Z's float out from his skull that hit the opponent in like an upward 3 combo. And I wound up cutting that attack because I was like, I didn't like it as much as any of the ones I had in the video.
Sure.
One thing, moveset-wise, that people are wondering about was utilizing the Gaster Blasters more, because I really only wound up using them for the side B in the final Smash. And seeing some of the ideas in the comments for what could be done with the Gaster Blasters, like using them as smash attacks or using it as an up B and stuff, that is something I think I would at least consider. I'm not for sure yet if I would change that, but I would definitely consider implementing Gaster Blaster stuff into more of the moveset. That's something I think I overlooked a little bit. I also think a lot of people in the comments presented some really cool Final Smash ideas. That one is a more definite change to me. I like the one I did. But like people have presented these ideas of like, oh, what if Sans actually puts them in a box, like the interface of the game, and then does an attack? And I'm like, oh man, you know what? That would be super referential and cool. I wish I did that. That's like the one thing I've seen where I'm like, yeah, that's a definite change I would make. Boy, man, like I said, there is just such a wide variety of comments in here. Another one I got a lot of was why I didn't use the AU costumes for Sans.
What?
So, for Sans' alternate costumes, what I wound up doing was making up alternate costumes, since within the game, Sans never really changes his look.
Yeah.
So I just made up alternate costumes that I thought were a pretty good reference. But a lot of people are like, oh, you know what you should have done? You should have used the alternate universe Undertale Sans's for his alternate outfits.
That does sound
do you know
cool.
Yeah. Do you know anything about that, Chris?
What?
So basically, right, there are some very popular fan-made Undertale alternate universes where they give the characters different personalities and different looks. So like, oh, you could have, and I don't know them very well, so I'm probably I'll get a lot of stuff wrong. You could have like Underfell Sans, who looks tougher.
Right, you
Underswap
told me
Sans,
about that. And
who wears Papyrus's outfit, or Glitchtail Sans, who's like black and glitchy looking.
Doesn't this have nothing to do with like Toby Fox and like the actual official stuff?
It's completely non-canon.
Then what?
So I never now. To be fair, this is what I've been thinking. To be fair, my costumes are non-canon too, but like, I don't know. Wouldn't it be kind of like if they made a Bowsette alt for Peach? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Which would be awesome. I would
It's
love
just
that.
it's just something I never considered. So I mean, I think it works just as well. It's just I would be surprised to see that reference if this ever actually came to light. One quick thing to address. I talked about that Undertale is probably like the biggest indie phenomenon, with the only thing comparable being Minecraft. A lot of people said I forgot about Five Nights at Freddy's, and
No.
I've simply never played a single Five Nights at Freddy's game. They look. I've watched a couple people.
It was a phenomenon for very different reasons. Like, not for people to play, but yeah, like it was pretty huge just in terms of it being viewed. So I get that, but
I get it. Yeah, I just never
Also,
played it, so I
like a
forgot
Flash
about it.
Gordon thing.
Yeah.
Like that whole thing happened like over the course of a year, and then it just kind of died.
Yeah.
Like he's still releasing games, I believe, or he did like a RPG or something with them, and like it's just not what it used to be. Like it's died out.
So last thing here is just like Rayman, I need to do victory screens and a victory theme for Sans. For victory screens, the ideas I had where he has one where he's asleep and then the camera tries to move away from Sans and then his eye opens and forces the camera back onto him and he immediately falls back asleep. One where he starts walking off camera and then the camera moves to look at him and he's gone. And then one victory screen where he plays the trombone to his own victory theme. Because you got to keep up the trombone stuff.
That's cute.
For his victory theme, I'm kind of assuming that if we saw Sans in Smash Brothers, it would be him being picked over other Undertale characters. So I was thinking a victory theme that's based entirely on him, a little snippet from Megalovania. Before we get to Waluigi, I actually want to talk about something else really quick here. I did the Rayman and the Sans videos in pretty quick succession to each other. And then after Sans, I wound up taking a hiatus, I think from like December until February, late February was when Waluigi actually released.
Yeah, it was a while.
December is always kind of a busy time of year. I think for most people for different reasons, whether it's job or holiday or family stuff. And then after that, that's when I started kind of getting into my funk. And I don't want to talk about too much on this video, but I had a lot of personal stuff going on. And actually, during that time, I had a completely different character planned out, and I recorded it, and I was in the middle of editing it. I just never got around to finishing it, and I didn't ever feel like finishing it. So then I moved on to Waluigi.
That's interesting.
So I might get back to that character at another point, but the character was actually Kamek from the Yoshi games. So that was originally going to be character number 3.
Obviously, the biggest evolution the series has ever seen happens in this episode, and that is the addition of Moveset Miles.
Suddenly,
That's
production
right.
value through the roof.
Just skyrockets with those beautiful outdoor, only naturally lit, poorly costumed scenes that really just rack in the views, you know?
I've gotten a couple requests to do just a Moveset Miles moveset video someday.
The academy went crazy.
Yeah. Moveset Miles for Smash!
I'm surprised that Waluigi was actually one of the shorter videos.
Yeah, I was too, to be honest. I guess ultimately there wasn't a lot to explain with all of his different tennis racket attacks because they were all direct references. And I guess I'll go ahead and start with that then. Man, you know, with any character, there's so many, you know, directions you can go. And that's still, I think, one of the bigger, I don't know about debates, but one of the things that people question on the Waluigi video is using an all, or in my case, primarily tennis-based moveset good? Or would it be better to have something where he has a variety of moves, or even original moves? Because there have been some pretty cool Waluigi moveset videos where he has a totally original moveset, or something where he incorporates a lot of different sports equipment.
I feel like the thing that stands out to me about that idea is mostly, for a lot of that, it would be like you could do very similar moves and just change the equipment in his hand. I feel like making it all mostly tennis-based just gives it more of a cohesive feel. And it also, your moveset might not have like the most references to the most things, but for some reason it feels to me like the most like what they might actually do if they make Waluigi.
It's very possible. I mean, even his assist trophy just uses the tennis racket.
Yeah, that's a good point, you know?
The whole way that this came about was kind of like Rayman. I actually conceptualized a Waluigi moveset a while ago, and this moveset for the video was only a little adjusted from that. And one of the ideas I had, because I kind of started with the special moves, was having this tennis ball projectile. Because I thought, regardless of what you do with Waluigi's moveset, that makes sense. It's giving him a tennis ball projectile. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be cool, you know, to make this projectile different from other characters' projectiles? Because like so many characters have a projectile, you start wanting to do things to differentiate them from the other character's projectile. Is if you could actually return it like a tennis ball, make it function like a tennis ball.
Yeah.
And when I thought about doing that, I was like, oh man, you know what would be cool is then if he had tennis racket attacks for his normal moves, you could use those to return the ball instead of just always pressing the B button and trying to line yourself up with the B button. You could use it however you want to using his regular attacks. And then going along with that, it was like, well gosh, I guess I better make as many of the regular attacks tennis racket moves as I can then, so that you can play Waluigi this way.
That makes a lot of sense, and I like that. I think it's a great way to differentiate Waluigi from anyone else, and so yeah, I like it personally.
I do too. Well, thank you.
You know, yeah, there were people who were not happy about it, but like, I don't know. The thing with me is, I think having a clear concept behind a character, I think, is like what makes the character worth it. Like, it's weird to me when people want it to be just like an amalgamation of a bunch of things instead of like being one clear thing. Like, like people say like, I want him to have a moveset based around cheating, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I could plug Duke of Dorks here really quick, because he did a pretty cool cheater Waluigi moveset, so I'll go ahead and do that.
That's fine, and there's nothing like wrong with doing it, but I just mean like when they're like, this is bad because it should be about cheating, and I'm like, so your vague concept of like
is the only way to do it. Like,
yeah,
that's silly.
Your vague, non-thought out concept is what it should be instead of this thing that you put work into.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not totally opposed to amalgamations, obviously, because that's pretty much exactly what I did with Karate Joe, which we'll get to later. But for me, the difference with Waluigi is that he's coming from a series that already has a ton of characters.
Yeah.
Right? We already have like Mario and Luigi and Peach and Bowser and Rosalina and Bowser Jr. So like, what are you doing with Waluigi that makes him different from those guys?
Yeah.
And if you make something original that fits a theme, that's great. I decided to use tennis as the theme. And I think that works just as well, because instead of making something up, I'm using something that's already there. And in most cases, I prefer that to making something up.
Sure.
Like doing something that the character does. A big inspiration was, kind of like I said, is doing with Sans, looking at everything that there is and what I can reference. When I was looking at like Mario Tennis stuff with Waluigi, I'm like, wow, like this already kind of looks like a moveset, all the different ways you can hit the ball with the tennis racket. I didn't have to stretch to make Waluigi's moves almost all tennis moves at all. It's like, you got a backhand, you got an overswing, you got a forward swing with two hands, you got this, you got that, and those were all references to things in Mario Tennis. None of them were made up.
Yeah.
The throws were, which is why you demonstrated them, but they were real tennis maneuvers.
Yeah.
And I still tried to have a little variety by having him kick for all of his low attacks, and that was a very conscious choice, was to make all of his low attacks kicks, because I did want to reference some kicks for certain moves, just to give him a little variety there. But also, I was like, that way you won't get confused if you're trying to return the tennis ball. You'll know, if I do a low attack, that'll be a kick and will not return the tennis ball.
Yeah.
But you can use anything else to return a tennis ball.
Makes sense. It seems like you put time into thinking it through, and I think it shows. Like, people are always gonna have complaints, but
especially people that like aren't doing it are going to think that they could do it better.
yeah.
And it's
That-
just
yeah.
like, whatever, man.
I have to admit, I think years ago that was my mindset with Let's Plays. I was like, the people that are playing these games aren't very good at them. I'm going to try Let's Playing. And then it's like, it's actually really hard to talk while playing this game this whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do solo Let's Plays at all.
I
Yeah,
can't even
I-
solo stream.
It's fair. I can solo stream easier than I can solo Let's Play, but I still like, it's just so much better to have somebody else there to bounce off of.
Yeah.
One thing that I think got brought up as a concern for the moveset was that the tennis ball gimmick itself wouldn't always work. And that's true. You're going to be in situations or on stages where, you don't have a flat surface to bounce the tennis ball between yourself and another character. And so the tennis ball, returning concept doesn't work so well. But there's nothing stopping you from playing Waluigi as a regular character. You can still go up and hit people with the tennis racket and kick and stuff, so then you're basically just playing as any other Smash Brothers character.
It feels less debilitating than playing Little Mac on a stage with a lot of platforms.
Exactly. My whole thing is, with that has just been, this is a gimmicky projectile. I still don't think I've made any gimmick that's as gimmicky as Olimar.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying not to break that extremity, I guess. One clarification really quick. I said something, I think some people got confused. I said something about Waluigi being my most wanted character that's in Smash Brothers. And people were like, wait, I thought you said it was Rayman. What I mean is, Waluigi, I think, is my most wanted character who is a non-playable character that exists within Super Smash Bros. The reason I did a Waluigi video in the first place is because I streamed Smash Bros. World of Light. So I was like, okay, I guess I gotta pick a Smash Bros. Character. And I was like, oh, why don't I pick a character that's in the game but is not playable, like an assist trophy or a Pokeball Pokemon.
Right, that makes sense.
That's why I picked Waluigi. And that is still kind of unusual because I used to... I wasn't like a Waluigi hater, but I used to be like, Waluigi's not that important. I think we're at a point now where he kind of is. Like, when you look at the lineup of Mario characters we have, it's like, yeah, Waluigi's probably one of the next. Especially with how much fan demand he has right now.
Yeah.
The video did pretty well. It didn't do Sans numbers, but it broke Rayman's numbers.
It did, yeah. It's, I think, the third most watched right now.
It's pretty high up there. Who else would be higher? Oh, Karate Joe.
Karate Joe. Karate Joe is number 2.
For some unexplainable reason. Like, I expected Waluigi to blow up the way that Sans did. Well, not the way that Sans did, but I expected Sans and Waluigi to both blow up.
Yeah. One of the other questions on the video was, and I wanted to bring it up because I thought it was a cool idea, was if Waluigi's service special, where he gets out a tennis ball, if sometimes, kind of like with Peach, with her vegetables, if you had this really low chance of serving up a Bob-omb instead, because Waluigi is so associated with Bob-ombs. And I actually thought of that idea, and I liked it, and ultimately I scrapped it because, it's not, in the context of Waluigi's moveset, it's not something that's always an advantage. Like, if you serve the tennis ball at close range, and then you get caught in the explosion of the Bob-omb as well, or if you finally set up a really good chance to start a service and a rally with the tennis ball, you wouldn't be able to do that with the Bob-omb. And also, the tennis balls are built to be reflected by any of Waluigi's normal moves. So then, like, with the Bob-omb, it's like, okay, do you apply the same things to the Bob-omb? Do you apply the same thing to any item? And I gave Waluigi a down B that reflects, but if you have him serve Bob-ombs, then you're restricted to using his down B. So I saw so many issues with that ultimately I chose not to go with that idea. I would consider, if I ever kind of, like, redid the video, I would consider, having him serve, like, some kind of special, like, Waluigi-only Bob-omb that he can return as normal, like, as if it were a tennis ball.
I love that Kirby has to be included in every one of these videos.
Yeah, you gotta have a Kirby hat each time.
I think if Kirby was included in every video on YouTube, it would just make YouTube a better place.
Actually, the next thing I wanted to mention was in relation to Kirby. I actually made a mistake in this video. One of the things... Yeah, I was like, oh, well, you know, if you don't want to get the balls mixed up, then you give Kirby a ball too. And someone was like, okay, but what if you have one Waluigi and multiple Kirbys? I'm like, oh shoot, that doesn't work then. I guess
would Kirby be able to serve back a ball served by Waluigi?
That was another question.
And can Waluigi serve each other's balls? I think you talked about that one.
Yeah, if you have multiple Waluigis, can they return each other's balls? And that's not something I addressed in the video, and I just kind of overlooked. And I was like, man, you know what? I don't have a real answer to that, but I think it'd be more fun if they could.
Yeah.
So
I would love, like, 8-man smash all Waluigi, just like...
You could just make your own game with this.
It'd be a waste if they couldn't, because the whole... Because then you could actually have, like, a tennis match.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say yes. And between that and the Kirby thing, that means the entire idea of Waluigi's different alternate costumes giving him different colored balls is completely pointless. Because it doesn't matter if they get mixed up, you're just going to return them all anyway.
I still think it's good. I still think it's a good aesthetic touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then you'll know which Waluigi got you if you miss a volley.
Oh, and I have not addressed the number one comment on the video, which is no crotch chop.
Oh yeah, there's that. This is a family game. We can't have suggestive content in here. Man, it's so funny because I always consider that kind of a joke. It was like, oh yeah, Waluigi did a crotch chop thing in Mario Soccer, and then people are like, no, you have to have that. That needs to be one of his taunts. It's a vital part of his character.
I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight someone as playing Waluigi in Smash Brothers, and all they do is just stand there and do the crotch chop the whole fight. I'm just like, no, I don't want to do that.
Alright. It's your loss.
But maybe someone's like, you gotta at least have it as a victory screen. I'm like, maybe, I don't know.
You should have Miles do it.
Just have Miles. I don't even need that. Waluigi already does it. I have a reference already. You just want to see Miles do that.
I just want to record Miles running around in public and just crotch chopping at people.
Yeah, mostly so we can use it as blackmail later.
For who?
That's the whole point of Moveset Miles isn't really to make these videos better. It's a plot by Chris and Isaac to have just a lot of blackmail on me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're gonna do something. You're gonna have a really important job interview, and then I'm gonna send them a video of you going, "That's the prophecy foretold."
Yeah. Though none of the footage we've done for Smash yet is more embarrassing than some of the stuff that I've done for Chris on Adustus already. So.
Yeah, honestly, we've had Miles film worse things than we have for these videos.
So far, I mean, you never know what the future may bring.
I'm actually really upset that you didn't have Miles record anything for this one.
You wanted to dress up. You want to dress up Miles as a genie?
Yeah, I want to take him out in public in a belly shirt. Let's do it.
It's too late now.
I didn't need that because, man, Shantae has so many attacks. I actually, the whole thing with Shantae, not super hard, but I ragged on her a little bit during the Undertale video, where I was like, it felt like a lot of people bandwagoned at the time, where when Shovel Knight got disconfirmed, and they're like, aha, Shovel Knight's on in! It must be Shantae! They're adding Shantae to Smash Brothers!
I remember having arguments with people who were like, Shantae's bigger than Shovel Knight. I'm like, no.
No.
She's had more games, and yet all those games still haven't sold as much as his one game.
No, it's absolutely true. Shantae's actually gained a lot of popularity recently. Probably, I think, because of the announcement of Shantae 5 and other things like that, which is awesome.
I think it's a couple things.
And after that, you know, I just decided, man, I really want to do a Shantae video, but I still haven't played Shantae's Risky's Revenge. So this was a situation where I actually tailored the game that I streamed to a character that I wanted to make a Smash video for. And I kind of do both. Sometimes I'll play a game because I want to play that game and then do a moveset for them, and sometimes I'll play a game because I want to do a moveset for a certain character. So I kind of get a little freedom with both ideas. The next two for Smash characters are both of those things. The next character is a character from a game I really wanted to play, and the character after that is just a character I really wanted to do, so I'm playing a game so that I have an excuse to do that character. Of course, the big thing with Shantae was the implementation of the transformations, which, boy, that's just kind of an argument all on its own. Because that is like Shantae's core ability. I mean, besides her hair whip, is transforming into different creatures. So I ultimately decided, yeah, if I'm gonna do a Shantae moveset, I want to have that. But some people are like, that would be way too difficult to like implement in Smash Brothers just because of how much work it would take. You have to make a separate model for all of these different transformations, and it'd be a ton of work. And my response to that has just been, yeah, but I'm not actually making this character. That's kind of the advantage I have to doing these videos, is I can like make the best like concept for a character, and even if it's not, you know, feasible from a time standpoint, it would still be really cool.
I also love that concept of like, do you know how big a company Nintendo is?
Yeah, they could make this if they wanted to.
Everything they did for Joker, and you're just like, they wouldn't make a woman and an elephant and a monkey and a mermaid.
That's too much work.
That's too much work. Like, what are you talking about? They'll do whatever they want to do. It's not that many models.
One of my goals with Shantae's transforming in her moveset was to try to make it as seamless as possible. I didn't want to do a thing where she swapped between transformations with different movesets, like Pokemon Trainer, simply because Pokemon Trainer already does that. You know what I mean? I wanted, like, okay, what can I do that makes Shantae unique in this regard? So I was like, okay, what if I just implement her different transformations into her regular move set, but then like the different transformations actually do change her like proportions and stats and stuff like that. And one thing I did to incorporate that was theming every different transformation to a different type of attack. So kind of like with the whole Waluigi using as many tennis balls as usual, or tennis attacks as possible, it's convenient for the player. You know, it's still easy to pick up and play. So it's like, you know, if you do a smash attack, you're going to become an elephant. You know that if you start multi-jumping, you're going to become a harpy. You know if you grab, you're going to become a spider. And so that way you don't get super confused. And coming up with this moveset actually has been the most difficult one because of that. I went through like 4 different drafts of Shantae's moveset before I reached the one that I used for the video.
I didn't know she turned into a giraffe.
What?
I didn't know she turned
4
into a
different
giraffe.
Oh, god damn it. 4 giraffes. Yes.
Yeah.
The last change I made actually was swapping Harpy and Monkey. Originally, because the Monkey is such a prominent transformation in Shantae, I was going to have her aerials use Monkey, because you use Monkey for like jumping and climbing. And I was like, okay, so I'll use that for her aerials, and her up B can be Harpy, which is a less common transformation. But then while I was like kind of replaying Shantae games, I was like, man, you know what, actually? The way that that Harpy like moves is exactly like Smash Brothers multi-jumping. And at this point, I already had things like, you know, Shantae having a crawl ability. So I was like, man, what if I just gave Shantae, like, that's one of Shantae's special things, is that through these transformations, and like this is how her whole trade-off works. Through these transformations, she's the first Smash character to have every special movement type. She can wall climb, she can multi-jump, she can crawl, she can tether, but she accomplishes each one through a different transformation, which is a disadvantage because the transformations mostly change her stats in a negative way. Harpy makes her a little lighter, Monkey makes her super lighter, and Spider makes her heavier, which is normally okay, but if you're trying to use it as a tether and you miss your tether, you are falling as a spider, as a big heavy spider. So that was kind of the idea on making the moves, on making the gimmick come together. And I kind of thought that even though it would have been nice to have Monkey in more of the moveset, that having it as an up B kind of made it like Bowser Jr.'s up B, is what I tried to imply. Because when Bowser Jr. uses his up B, he goes into this lighter, different form where he can get like knocked away way easier. So the Monkey idea was kind of a copy of that.
Man. I feel
What?
like Way Forward wanted to make me want to fuck a spider, and it's not alright.
That's just not.
That's on you.
It didn't work. It didn't succeed. But I
The
can
fact
tell.
that they were trying.
I can tell they're trying, and that's gross. They want me to feel this way. Oh, that's unbelievable.
Now, and this happened with Sans as well. I've gotten a lot of comments on like, well, man, if you have a character like this that has all these different movement types and these different transformations and stuff, they're going to be overpowered. And I want to talk about that really quick, because like with Sans, with the types of attacks I did for Sans, I got comments that were like, oh, this is overpowered. And I also got comments that were like, this is underpowered. I don't think you can determine if something is overpowered or underpowered unless it's actually like being play tested and in the game. I don't think I've introduced any gimmick that is inherently overpowered or underpowered, because you can adjust it like based on the amount of damage it deals, or how much knockback it deals, or you know how many frames of invincibility you get, or things like that. Anything that's balance based can be adjusted, and that's why I don't deal with numbers at all in these videos. I'm never like, and because some moveset videos do this, where it's like, you know, this attack does 7% damage, this attack does, you know, 5 milligrams of knockback, and
we need 5 cc's of knockback now.
and I just don't deal with that, because I feel like the concepts I'm doing are really more from the character standpoint and the aesthetic standpoint, and not from like the numbers, because that is all adjustable. You know,
that's something they figure out. And also, like, yeah, like you're not. I don't know.
If I was actually like making a fan game with these movesets, that's when I would start considering that. But like, if anything did seem like broken, then I could adjust it. I don't think any of the characters that I've done movesets for have movesets that are inherently broken.
Yeah, and any
I think that'd be really hard to do, actually.
Yeah, any move that can, any move you make can be balanced. Like Overwatch just put in a character that has an invincibility field, and they've balanced that. Like
and he still sucks.
Yeah, like like any concept can be made overpowered or underpowered. So like the way you talk about these moves, like there's no way to know that until someone's playing the character that doesn't exist yet. It's silly.
And it's also just like, man, in this hypothetical moveset that you've created, hypothetically it's overpowered, so you're wrong.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Cool.
All right.
I do want to mention a couple specific moves. I think I do need to change a little bit how the pike ball would work. Either that it does dissolve after one hit, or it doesn't stun. Kind of like Fox's blaster. I think you'd have to do one of those things to make it work the way I outlined. The other thing was the final smash. A lot of people were either surprised or not super accepting that I picked Mermaid Bubble for the final smash. That was actually also one of my last changes that I did for Shantae. I had a few different final smash ideas.
She has like 1,000 big spells that can work.
Exactly. I had an idea that used the genie lamp, which some people presented. I had an idea. I did consider Mermaid Bubble at one point because of like the shooter segments that you have using Mermaid, but I was like, I don't think that's as good as originally what I was going to use was Destruction Dance, which is like her big ultimate spell in Half Genie Hero, where just she dances and then everybody blows up. And I thought that was fine, if not a little basic. But then what happened is I got to the end of Risky's Revenge, which was the game I was streaming to make Shantae's moveset, just to make sure I didn't miss anything. And in the final boss battle against Negashante, that's when I saw Negashante's versions of Shantae's attacks, and I remember really being blown away by the way she used Mermaid Bubble, by shooting the bubbles like all over the place, and it was like a really hard to avoid attack and really powerful. I'm like, oh, this is a cool idea for a final smash, especially because I didn't realize till later that Shantae also uses the exact same move when she's a boss in Risky mode for Half Genie Hero. So I was like, yeah, this could really work. It kind of combines this idea of Shantae being a boss and Shantae's bubble shooter segments into a final smash for a transformation I haven't utilized that much, because I was only using Mermaid for swim animation. So I thought, yeah, this really fleshes out the whole thing. So I get that there's good alternatives to Shantae's moveset, and some people like those better. I'm sticking with the one that I picked. I really like it.
I'm super grateful that you didn't have me record versions of those taunts that you ended up using.
That's why I wanted...
That was one of the bigger compliments of the video. A lot of people like the taunts, and I honestly do too. I thought it was a fun idea.
My hips don't move like that, you know?
Hips don't lie.
Hips don't move.
My hips are liars. That's why I can't dance. My hips exclusively lie.
One hip can only tell the truth. One hip can only tell lies.
Which direction would the other hip tell me is the right direction? All right, no.
So, to be honest, for myself, just because of the amount of like thought that I put into the moveset and like the variety of moves I got to use, so far Shantae has been my favorite video to do, and that I've made, that I've had.
It was pretty well received, and for being a smaller character, still got a fair amount of views.
Karate Joe got, I think an unexpected amount of views, actually. I thought this was going to be a more obscure character than like Shantae or Rayman or Waluigi. Joe is my second most viewed video.
Yeah, going into it, when you told me this is what was happening, I figured I was like, okay, this is gonna be the one where like, you know, you do the one that like you kind of want to do, like the personal, the personal like passion one, and it just doesn't bring in that many people, you know.
Right.
But no, apparently it's big enough that people do know about it, but it's small enough that nobody ever talks about it. So making a video about it makes it really stand out.
Right, it's
I
that
think that's what
perfect
happened with
combination.
this.
Kind of like when I did the Punch-Out Wii Let's Play. Like, people know about it, but not a lot of people had done Let's Plays of it. So, I think that's exactly what it's like. I think the other thing that helped, too, was, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I try to make my movesets totally original, but when I made this Joe moveset, this is kind of like the Waluigi one. I actually made it a long time ago, and I'm just kind of re-presenting it with some updated ideas for a video. And one of the inspirations for my Joe moveset initially was the artwork of Kevin Fagarigan. And I wanted to use it in my video, so I messaged him. I was like, hey, can I use your artwork in my video? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Just credit me. I'm like, yeah, of course. So I did, and then he retweeted the video. So I think that helped too.
Yeah, that also helps.
Now, like with Waluigi, not everyone likes the way I did Karate Joe's moveset. Because what I did was not only did I have him use, you know, a lot of different moves that reference a lot of different Rhythm Heaven games that not just abilities Karate Joe can use, but I had him also like fully morph into different Rhythm Heaven characters. And so people are kind of like, if I want to play as Karate Joe, I just want to play as Karate Joe. And I think that's fair. My line of thinking here, which I'm standing by, if I was told that there was going to be one singular Rhythm Heaven character in Smash Brothers, this is what I would want. Because I like Karate Joe as a character icon. I like him as a base because so many like moves in Rhythm Heaven would be Karate Joe's fighting moves, I think. But there's so many different Rhythm Heaven games that I'd want him to reference all of those as well. And you could probably find a different character that can do that specific idea better. I actually have a concept. If they ever do another Rhythm Heaven game that I wind up streaming, I might do an alternate take using that with actually Rhythm Girl was my idea. Having a little monkey companion with her, and then together the two of them reference lots of Rhythm Heaven things. And then doing a Karate Joe that is just a full-blown timing-based karate moveset, using the moves he actually uses in the Karate Man games, and also some of the attacks he has in his different victory animations, like the just the karate chops and the flaming hands. Maybe using some martial arts moves from other Rhythm Heaven games, like a crop stomp attack or kung fu ball attacks. And I think those would be cool as two separate ideas. Timing-based Karate Joe and lots of Rhythm Heaven references-based Rhythm Girl. Kevin Fagarigan recently did a new video that was the barista using the kind of moveset I did for Karate Joe. But I still believe in everything I said in the video. And if there was one Rhythm Heaven character, I like what I did. Joe is a base with references for special moves and aerials and stuff.
That's fair. I mean, especially considering that, I think if it hadn't been for like the Gamatsu thing, you would have gotten like no pushback at all on saying Joe.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of people, honestly myself included, I think a lot of people hadn't heard of Rhythm Heaven until like the rumors for Chorus Kids and Smash Brothers. I hadn't. I learned about Rhythm Heaven through the Gamatsu leak.
And you were like, wait, Nintendo has a rhythm game series?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, whoa, cool. I'm going to play that. And I did. And I played Rhythm Heaven. And I was like... I played Rhythm Heaven Fever was the one I picked up because it was the one I found. And the Chorus Kids aren't in it at all. And so I started looking at the series as a whole. And I'm like, oh, okay, so Chorus Kids were in one of the Rhythm Heaven games. And Karate Joe was in all of them.
I do think, like, if you're gonna pick it would have to. I feel like it'd have to be either him or Marshall if you're going for just like rep of the series. But Marshall seems so bland in comparison.
Yeah, I've come to really like Rhythm Girl as my secondary idea to Karate Joe. She's in almost every single one. Just like the last couple of movesets, I did get a little bit of like, oh, if you use these timing-based attacks for Karate Joe and they're better than his smash attacks, that's too overpowered. And this one I just fully disagree, for a couple reasons. I mean, for one, if I do these like rhythm-based timing attacks with a big payoff, and they're harder to do than just pressing, a smash attack button, why would you use them in the first place? There has to be a payoff. And secondly, like getting down a timing-based attack in the heat of battle in Super Smash Bros., where you have objects and people flying over the place, I think is a little more difficult than people watching the video realize.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Smash Bros. Is a chaotic game, and you're trying to master a character that uses timing-based attacks.
I do think it would be a fascinating thing to see, though.
Yeah.
See somebody like play that at a really high level.
Yeah. So even with all the references to different Rhythm Heaven games I did for Karate Joe, there were still like a few I didn't reference that I would have loved to. In particular, Sumo Brothers. I wanted to have a Sumo Brothers attack. Sneaky Spirits is also kind of an icon of Rhythm Heaven. I tried to use some taunts that covered those aspects, but yeah, there's just so much Rhythm Heaven stuff. It was hard to even imagine just sticking it to one character, just having it be Joe the whole time. I think, and some people did a better job in the comments than I did of justifying Joe morphing to different things, with things like, the real heart of Rhythm Heaven being the remixes where you are rapidly switching between different games and different characters. The thing I brought up in the video is the challenge mode, where like, you play one game and poofs in a puff of smoke and then you're on to the next one. So I think there is enough stuff within Rhythm Heaven itself to justify switching between characters like that.
Also, just the music would be so good.
Oh man,
I think
they
it's the
are
main
really skimping out on Rhythm Heaven music. There are so many good ones. I thought, after doing this video, I thought about doing a top 10 Rhythm Heaven songs that should be in Super Smash Brothers. In particular, I really want Munchie Monk in Smash Brothers, because that is such a fun song. It's like
I still don't understand the concept of Munchie Monk as a character. I don't understand why they decided to make him a monk with a baby on his back.
The concept of Munchie Monk as a character is he's supposed to be a monk that does the opposite of what monks are supposed to do. In the Munchie Monk games, you are trying to eat as much as you can over the course of your life as a monk, whereas most monks learn how to fast.
Yeah.
And also he has a baby, which monks usually don't have.
Where's the Munchie Monk game where you fuck?
That one's off camera.
Oh.
And I'm just trying to I'm trying to imagine in the Munchie Monk games, like when you're playing them, it goes like, eat one, eat two, eat one, and I'm just imagining now it's like thrust, twice, thrust thrice.
Great.
I made one like actual mistake in the video, sort of. I talked about that when he transforms into Baxter and Forthington, that he hits like, Baxter will strike forward and Forthington strikes backwards. I didn't even realize till someone mentioned in the comments that Baxter and Forthington's names were a play on back and forth. I feel so dumb that I never realized that.
That's rough. That's a super heavy-handed pun, man.
Oh my god, I can't believe that. I never got that. So Baxter should be the one hitting backwards while Forthington hits forwards. I can't believe I never got that. Baxter and Forthington. Holy moly.
There are worse things, but not many.
Not many.
Oh, the Kirby hat's terrifying.
I got a few different comments about that. Someone on Twitter did the whole Karate Joe Kirby doesn't exist. It can't hurt you. And then Karate Joe Kirby, and then they showed that picture. I was proud of that one. The way I did that was I just copied Kirby's arm and then pasted it where his nose would be and reversed it. It made it giant.
That's awful.
Man, the thing I'm worried about always is, and I mentioned this in the video too, that like we're already past the point where they would have already added a Rhythm Heaven character, and now like the ship has sailed. He's going to be like another Isaac. But it feels like, with things like the Rhythm Heaven Reanimated project and this and that Rhythm Heaven is starting to get more of a cult following. So I hope that keeps the series alive. Because it feels like Mega Mix had a very limited release. So it kind of feels like maybe they were doing a last hurrah with it. I hope this will inspire them to keep the Rhythm Heaven series going.
Yeah. Like, it feels like it's really finally starting to pick up in the West.
Yeah. I hope they keep it up.
We'll see. Jason and Sophia for Smash.
Jason and Sophia.
The shoo-in character.
Well, this one was interesting. This one being kind of a surprising, even for myself, moveset video. I wasn't planning on doing a Jason and Sophia moveset anytime soon. And then suddenly, Inti Creates announced Blaster Master Zero 2. I'm like, oh my god, I gotta play this right away. Because I really liked the first Blaster Master Zero. It, along with Breath in the Wild, were like the first games I played on the Nintendo Switch. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to be a game-based one. I played Blaster Master Zero 2 right away, and then made a Jason and Sophia moveset. I thought it'd be one I would do someday, just not right now. And like with Karate Joe, I was worried that this one would be a bit more obscure, not get as many views. And in this case, that actually happened. Jason and Sophia have not nearly reached the same number of views as the previous characters. Blaster Master definitely is a bit more obscure. The other thing was there was a bit of delay with this video. I could not find, because what I wanted to use for the thumbnail picture, of course, was kind of a either Smash styled or 3D model rendered type looking picture for Jason. And even though a lot of people had done that for Sophia the tank, could not find a single one for Jason. So I was like, okay, no big deal. I'll commission an artist. I had a hard time finding an artist. And so it got really, really delayed because I was trying to do that. And I finally did wind up commissioning someone, but it just, at that point, I was like, it was pushing 3 weeks or more since the last for Smash video, and I had the video just sitting there, and I was like, I really want to release this video. So I gave in and just released the video as it was. I actually did get the commission for Jason's art that I was going to use, so I'm going to put it up here right now. Haven't presented this before. This was done by Autumn Kohai. I think she did a really great job, so you should go check out her artwork.
Huh.
This was the funnest costume to put together as moveset.
Is that
models.
right?
This is the one I felt the happiest with walking outside.
Yeah. Just a cool guy to walk to the park with. Me with my anime gray wig.
And your headphones on your shoulder.
The shoulder headphones. It's weird how they gave him shoulder headphones. I don't know if he has shoulder ears to go with them. I haven't played the game. But...
So, with Jason and Sophia and with Blaster Master, I had actually never heard of Blaster Master until when I was already in college. And I played this really popular online fan game at the time called Super Mario Crossover, which is actually still really cool if you ever check that out. But it's just Super Mario Brothers with lots of other playable characters like Mega Man and Link, and they function like they did in their respective NES games. And one of the characters that they had on there was Sophia. And I'm like, who is this? And I found out about Blaster Master. And then I played a little bit of the original Blaster Master, but I never really got to fully immerse myself into that until suddenly Inti Creates decided to remake Blaster Master as Blaster Master Zero for the Nintendo Switch. So that's how I got into that. And originally, I thought I would make a moveset for Jason, the main character that's inside the tank. And the idea was to make him, of course, a super ranged-based character, falling under that name Blaster Master, making this ultimate range-type character, which I pretty much did, but then also giving him abilities of the tank, like a dash attack that was the Spark Burn, and a down aerial that was the Thunder Breaker. But as I was as I was replaying the Blaster Master games for the moveset, I was like, man, you know what? The tank really is much more iconic than the character himself. And this might be a really rare opportunity to have a good playable vehicle in Super Smash Bros. And that would be really unique.
Yeah.
So I went with that. And I still like Jason a lot, so I wanted to have him in the moveset as well. So I wound up doing a whole character switch thing. because you spend a lot of time in the game as Jason outside the tank as well. But I'm glad I incorporated having the tank playable, because I think that was a really cool idea.
It definitely makes them unique. I think that's the main thing. I think it's what you can say about most of the characters you've done is they all have something about them that is unlike any other character.
That's definitely one of the goals, so that's great. And I mean, I'm sure I'll do some characters at some point, like actually some of the ones that are coming up soon that are a little more basic, but they're still, like, you still play them differently.
I don't know,
One clarification.
I was pretty happy with this video.
I really like how it turned out. I really I understand that it didn't get a lot of views because it's not a character people talk about a lot, but I really wish that it got a lot more views.
That's fair.
Just so that more people can see the moveset.
If the series was driven entirely by its name and reputation instead of by whatever character it's featuring at the time, I think it would do really well. So I think it's one of your best videos.
I think so too.
And also, I think it was the funniest. Well, I don't know. Just how we did the slide was really funny to me.
That was pretty good.
We were like, how are we gonna get Miles to do this?
I wasn't sure if you guys are gonna. I think guys gonna find like an actual baseball field or a dirt path or something he could safely slide on. But
and then it was raining all day, so we couldn't do that if we wanted to.
Right, the rainy season.
So we just took a towel and put it on the bleachers, and it was just like, all right, Miles, just like lay there in a sliding stance, and I'm just gonna move the camera.
It was really funny.
Yeah. So that was that.
If we would have planned it out more, I could have brought my longboard, but the way it worked out,
that would have
was
been
fine.
hilarious.
Yeah.
You just push yourself across the ground on the longboard
Yeah.
with your leg out. Yo, when are you gonna do a skateboarding character?
Yep.
I got a patron request once for Beat from Jet Set Radio. It didn't win,
that'd be
and the
interesting.
person who suggested it isn't funding me anymore.
How about a Lucio Echo?
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be awesome.
That would be actually. I would love to do at some point a Beat from Jet Set Radio moveset.
Skates, so that'd be fun for me to shoot if you needed it.
Oh yeah,
Miles
totally.
actually does rollerblade.
Yeah.
You could just use footage from the Shovel Knight video.
Yeah. That was a great Jet Set Radio cosplay I did for Shovel Knight video.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Jet Set Radio, but he's on the sex offender registry.
Is that your new ASMR?
That's yes, that's it. No, that was the basic concept behind Miles' character in the Shovel Knight video.
One quick clarification.
No, just two.
Well, you were Shovel Knight, you were Miles, and the three.
Okay, cool.
One quick clarification. Someone was asking, okay, which moves actually drain Sophia's energy? And the way I wrote it, just the upbeat. But that's why you automatically jump out if like you're low on energy already from getting attacked a whole lot, and that way you can still recover as Jason. So yeah, it can be a really good up B if you have a lot of energy because you haven't gotten hurt much, but you're probably falling off the stage because you've gotten hurt.
What happens if your tank falls off the edge and you don't?
You automatically spring out, which counts as a single jump. So then you can still double jump and triple jump as Jason as the tank plummets.
Right, but I mean, but what happens to the tank? Does it come back, or...?
The tank, then, you have to use your down B to summon it through a wormhole.
Right, forgot about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. One thing I didn't know, until later, after I'd already made the moveset, and was already, editing the video, was, in Blaster Master 02, if you haven't played that game yet, here's a little trick, because I didn't know about this. The charge shot actually has its element changed depending on what sub-weapon you have. If you have the ignition bomb equipped, then when you use the charge shot, it becomes this, spread fireball shot. Or if you have the comet equipped, it becomes an ice shot, or you can make an electric shot too with one of the other sub-weapons. And if I had known about that, maybe I would have incorporated it into the moveset, maybe not. I kind of like the specials I already picked with the striker gun and the reflector gun. But that would have been an interesting concept that I didn't incorporate at all because I didn't know it existed.
Pro gamer tips.
That's right.
Okay, we're watching Miles's things now.
Oh, with the...
Yeah.
Another question I got was about 2 final smashes, because I did 2 final smashes, one for Jason outside the tank and one for in the tank. Which someone was like, do you really think they would do that? You know, I mean, even, you know, Zelda and Sheik only had 1 final smash, even if they functioned a little differently. And that was actually a last minute change. Originally, I was going to have Jason's final smash just summoning the tank dim immediately and then doing Sophia's final smash. But then I remembered while I was replaying Blaster Master Zero that, oh yeah, you have this like missile barrage attack that would be a really good final smash for Jason on foot. And, you know, Samus and Zero Suit Samus had different final smashes when they were in Brawl, so I think it still makes sense.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm not sure what the future of Blaster Master is going to be. I was kind of hoping that with Blaster Master 0 and 02 out, people would kind of, you know, pick up interest in the series. But I have not heard very many people talk about Blaster Master 02, so I'm a little worried it's just kind of come and gone.
I don't know. It might be one of those things like Gunvolt, you know, where it's still, you know, it sells enough to make its money back, and so they'll keep making it.
I hope so, because I really like the Blaster Master 0 series, and I hope it continues.
I wouldn't expect it to ever get big, though.
Nah.
Oh, well. Nightmare. Nightmare.
With Nightmare, you know, I had kind of assumed that Jason wasn't going to get a lot of views, but I thought, okay, Nightmare will get more. More people have played Soul Calibur, and Nightmare actually has even less views.
I wonder if it's just general series fatigue, where just over time, people are going to, like, lose some of the hype, or if people just aren't looking for Nightmare.
I think that's definitely a factor in it. A lot of Namco characters have gotten brought up, but not Nightmare. It's usually like, oh, they're going to bring in a Tekken character or a Tales of character. And I think Nightmare is just so much further down the list that he doesn't get talked about because we don't have those other characters yet.
That's fair. Because, yeah, we don't have anything from Tekken yet, so it's like...
Now, I've played way more Soul Calibur than Tekken, but that's just me. Like, I have kind of this warped perception of Soul Calibur because I grew up with it, and I have so many memories with it that I'm like, oh yeah, everyone loves Soul Calibur. It's like, oh yeah, actually, this is a little more obscure as a series, isn't it?
I'm proud of you for not going with Mitsurugi.
Mitsurugi's my favorite. Someone actually commented that in the video, too. It's like, well, wait, if Mitsurugi's your favorite, why didn't you make the video about Mitsurugi? And I'm like, well, because I think Nightmare is the most obvious representative. Other people in the comments brought up, well, you know, Sophia and Keelik and Siegfried are more of the main heroes. And that's true. Some people brought up Yoshimitsu because he's in both Tekken and Soul Calibur, so you could use him to like represent everything. But I think Nightmare is still such an icon in his own right of the series. Right? What do Sophia, Keelik, and Siegfried all have in common? They all fight Nightmare.
They all have nightmares.
Same.
Actually, I guess Sophia fights Cervantes, but oh well.
I don't know how
when
much
I
there
made
is to
the
say
list
about...
for Nightmare's attacks, I mean, this was my first time doing one of these videos for a character who's already from a fighting game series. There were so many more attacks I could have used that I didn't.
Yeah, Soul Calibur
Like-
specifically is a series with a lot of branching combo chains and everything, so there's a lot of moves.
Even giving Nightmare the additional 15 moves I did for his stance change idea, there were still lots of moves I didn't use in his moveset. So that was kind of cool. It's just like, oh, here's a huge list of attacks. Where do you want to put different moves? All of his stance change attacks were pretty much inspired from his Soul Calibur 2 moves, because that's where he had the most stance change things. It's also one of the ones I'm most familiar with, because it was my first one, so I kind of grew up with it. And then for his other moves, I mean, some of them are kind of set in stone, like the aerial moves, because there aren't a huge variety of aerial moves in Soul Calibur, so I wanted to use those. But like for his regular attacks, I kind of just picked and choose like what I thought fit best, combined with attacks I thought were particularly neat. I did Soul Smasher for his down tilt, and I did Midnight Launcher for his up smash, because I thought those were really cool attacks that fit in those spots. And, I mean, the throws were already kind of there. I probably could have picked something better for the floor attacks, but, you know.
Floor attacks are probably the ones I think about the least, honestly.
I think most people, like, I've gotten so many comments throughout the series about, wait, what are floor attacks? And I like, the get up attacks. And they're like, some people are like, oh yeah, that's right. And some people are like, wait, what are you talking about still?
Yeah. What are get up attacks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they just never get knocked down.
Actually, little Smash competitive trivia, I guess. Get-up attacks are considered not very viable for competitive play because they're a lot slower and less safe than just rolling or jumping to get back up. So a lot of competitive play doesn't even use get-up attacks.
That's fascinating. I guess they don't have a very long range, and I guess you'd have to be pretty stupid to like get hit by one, but...
Yeah, it's because it's dependent on the person coming up to you while you're laying there on the floor.
And just staying there in a... They'd have to be, like, really close to you, and they'd have to be, like, not doing anything to stop it or hitting you first.
Right. So they're good for some change-ups, but generally not widely used. For Nightmare, one of my scrapped ideas was giving him an actual, like, soul gauge, like they have in the newer Soul Calibur games, and, that, like, you could, like, use the soul gauge for his soul charge attack and use, like, edge guard as a special move. And I scrapped the edge guard special move in favor of the stance change, and then I was like, and then the soul charge could just be a more basic buff like the older Soul Calibur games and not be dependent on a gauge at all. I think doing the stance change was a little more interesting than doing the soul gauge idea.
Sure.
I also considered having the stance change activate by holding down the A button after using certain attacks. But even in Soul Calibur, that can be kind of annoying when you're trying to do like a combo and the Nightmare just starts going into a different stance change. And like, no, I didn't want you to do that. So I was like, that's, I think, a little too confusing for the quick play that Smash is. It'd be better if it was a more deliberate activation with the B button.
That's fair. Just make it like a Monado thing. Just make it like Shulk's thing.
Yeah, exactly. The immediate question I got like 5 of the same question as soon as the video launched, was how stance change works for Kirby. And what I think would be really cool is if it just worked the exact same. So like when you use your regular A moves with Kirby, he does his regular A moves, like Vulcan Jab and Flame Rush and all of that. But then, when you press the B button as Kirby, and he has the Nightmare helmet on, he just spawns like a miniature Soul Edge and goes into one of Nightmare's 3 different stances, and then uses all of the Nightmare's stance change attacks. So he actually gets like 15 Nightmare-themed attacks. And, that kind of goes back to the Shantae thing. It's like, well, gosh, wouldn't that be difficult to program? Yeah, sure, but I'm not the one actually programming it, so it doesn't matter.
Also,
that really is.
Also, this is like one of the biggest video game companies in the world. Like,
They can do it.
they're okay.
Right, because it actually kind of, not hugely, but it always kind of bothered me that all Kirby gets out of Shulk is the arts. He doesn't actually get to hit anybody with the Monado. He's just like, yeah, I'm using this to change my stats.
More like a Monad don't.
All right, our final character was the very first patron pick. So, right, the way I did that is basically everyone who suggested a character, which I think at the time I had 12 to 14 patrons. A couple of them dropped out after the first one. I put all their suggestions in a randomizer and added a second version of each person's character for each additional dollar they pledged beyond one. And the winner this time was Eva and Neil from To the Moon. I had never heard of this game. I think maybe you mentioned it to me before once or twice.
I've definitely talked to you about it before.
But it was a long time ago, I think, so I definitely didn't remember it. So that was kind of a fun experience. I got to play this game I had like barely ever heard of for these characters I had never heard of to make a moveset. And I had a lot of fun with it. It was actually it was a lot of fun doing that. I got a lot of compliments on the video that were like, "Wow, you did a really good job making a moveset for characters that don't fight."
I honestly think my favorite part of the video was just getting to watch you playing through the games. This series is one of those games where seeing people's initial reactions to it is really nice.
It was a really good story.
Yeah, I mean that's what the series is. It's just storytelling, basically.
I kind of figured this would be another video that didn't get a lot of views, which it was, but I had a lot of fun making the video still. I mean, for one, I got to play through these for the games, which was a great experience. And I got to do a lot of collaboration with this video, which was fun. I mean, I got to work with you guys again, which was great. And I also did, once again, commission an artist to make the picture for the video, and that was fun. Rosie helped out with this one a lot, too. So I got to work with a lot of people. And then Ken Gao retweeted it. He's the maker of the game. And you was like, hey, Ken, you should check this out. And he did, and he retweeted it. And that was cool, too.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy that does cool guy things. I know there's like a lot less negativity on this one compared to some of the other like out there characters that you've done, and it might just be because they're barely known, so I think people didn't show up to tell you that they can't happen.
I think that's one part of it. It also might be because it was a patron pick. It was a patron request, you know? So they're like, oh, you didn't choose this character. I don't know.
It's fair.
So the process of making the moveset was the same as Sans. You know, as I went through the game, I made a list of like all the attack ideas I had. There were, and I still had an excess number of moves, ones that I didn't use. I had an idea for an attack where they just poke with a stick.
That's
like,
oh god, it's awful.
Yeah, like the boulder puzzle thing. Which I kind of wonder if I still should have used that as their forward tilt instead of the shove. And I also had an idea for like a beach ball boulder attack where they bounce up a beach ball that looks like a boulder and it floats like a beach ball, but then it has like the damage and weight of a boulder. I thought that would have been kind of funny.
That'd be hilarious.
So those were some ideas. I had a lot of options for their up B too. Besides the floating heads thing, I mean, I could have just done a time warp like I did with Sans. I had another idea too. I can't remember what it was. I think maybe I considered using the hook shot as an up B. Only like it's not a tether. They do like latch onto a planet and then float up. So I had like I said, I had a few different options for attack still. I still got to kind of pick and choose.
I just love the concept of like, this character from this storytelling series, he just brings a moon down.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He just brings a celestial body crashing down onto the battlefield. No big deal. You're gonna make everybody think that like this series is like a badass like action series.
Well, I really went out of my way in this video. I even like blocked things out and censored things to like avoid any story spoilers in the video. Right? There are certain things that like I deliberately make the camera not show or like cover up certain sprites with other sprites so that you don't see it to try to not spoil any story aspects because it's such a story-driven game.
Yeah.
Whereas, and honestly, like a lot of the attacks I presented, like the RPG attacks, are like things that are not even really much of a part of the game.
Yeah, the RPG segments are just brief jokes, basically.
One of the things that I tried to make work with the character idea, so maybe those of you who are watching, if you have an idea on this, is I was trying to make them a way where you could continue playing as the other scientist after one of them has died. And the problem I ran into with that was if I have them share damage, then you basically, like if you're in a time or a stock battle, you just immediately lose like 2 lives because they're at the same percentage. So after one dies, the other one's going to die soon afterwards, and then you just lose 2 points instead of just 1 point.
You could basically just have it so that they have to land 2 finishing blows.
Maybe.
Like it doesn't take a stock
and then it just counts as 1 death.
Yeah.
But then that sounded like it could be actually inherently broken. I don't know.
If they share damage, it might not be as bad. Because the thing with the Ice Climbers is the Ice Climbers don't share damage.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe that's a way that could have worked.
It might balance out. I don't know. That'd be something for them to figure out. I don't think it's awful to have both die when one die, though. I don't think it's that bad.
It was the best way I could figure to make it work, but yeah.
It could even be a thing where they maybe they reinitialize or something, so it just resets everything for them. And so basically, like when a person goes off, like they basically just They basically just bring maybe like their like, you know, their like mercy platform or whatever it's called when they respawn. Maybe that is something. Maybe the surviving character like kind of teleports up there and like warps the other one back in, and now they've reset to 0 health, but they've lost the stock. You know. I don't know. There's a lot of there's a couple things you could probably do.
Yeah, a few different ideas that would have worked.
But I don't think it matters a terrible amount. I guess the big question is, does it feel like the spirit of the series is here?
What do you think?
I don't know how you show that through a moveset.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, it's something that's very story driven and very like, if anything, point and click type of stuff. So I don't know. I
think it shows the personality of Neil. So that's something. It's definitely more his personality than Eva's, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with all the RPG attacks and stuff.
So I don't know.
I did see a concept, because like I said, I look up the stuff after the video. I did see a different concept for like an Eva Neil moveset, where they are just two completely separate characters moveset wise, where Neil is more of the like, you know, flashy, silly attacks, and Eva does like all the control stuff, like freezing people in place and moving objects around and things like that.
Eva just has a gun.
What?
Eva just has a gun.
She doesn't have a gun?
Yeah, just give her a gun.
Just give her one.
Yeah,
That's
your
right.
Eva Me has a gun.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Side note, I do like that you make me fighters of all the characters that don't exist.
Yeah, that was something that started with I think I first did that with Shantae.
You did.
Because I was like, with Rayman and Sans, like I already had ideas for all of the like movements and stuff, and like there was something in the other ones where it's like, oh, I need examples from Smash Ultimate. So who do I show in the fight? And I was like, oh wait, what if I actually just made a me of Shantae? I think the Toad outfit would work really well for that. And then I just started doing that with everyone else. Alright, so that's pretty much everything for now. The next 4 Smash character is coming out really soon. And it won't be too long after that I'll start picking characters for patron pick number 2. So if you are a patron who hasn't told me your character yet, you should jump on that. And if you aren't a patron yet, you should consider it so that you can get in a vote as well. A couple final announcements. I have a new channel for Pizza Place specifically out of request. So you'll find that on the main channel. That's where I'll be archiving all my streams. So if you want to see those and you're not able to watch it live on Twitch, you can watch the archived streams there. Or if you'd rather keep each 4 Smash video a surprise, I guess don't subscribe to that channel, and then you just wait for the new 4 Smashes that appear on this channel. The Pizza Dude Man Guy Discord is being renovated and slightly more active, so I'll leave a link for that in the comments. I'm going to be still finishing the uploads of Tales of Vesperia on this channel, and maybe some other choice videos that I feel fit here better than on the stream archives. Thanks to Chris and Miles for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
And as always, see you next time for the next character. Subscribe to Adustus.
Subscribe to... No, never mind. Subscribe to Adustus.